Phones for you, for less. Headphones for you, phones for you, for less. Headphones for you.
Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 British stores that don't exist anymore. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at shops you won't be able to find on the Great British High Street. They can still exist overseas or online, but can't have physical locations in the UK. Let us know in the comments which you miss the most. Number 10. Virgin Megastores. Richard Branson has branched out into many different industries over the years, not in the least broadband and transportation, but he also opened a chain of retail units in the 1970s, beginning as a record shop and expanding across the UK. But though it operated fairly well for decades, the UK arm was sold off and rebranded as Zavvi in 2007. You're probably still familiar with Zavvi, as it still exists as a solely online retailer and has done for years, but it went into administration in 2008, forcing the company to sell all its locations to HMV. Maybe the idea of a physical record shop is outdated, since we all know HMV has come close to bankruptcy itself more than once. Number 9. Thorntons.
At Thorntons, we put a lot of love, passion and care into all we do.
After over a century of trading, beloved chocolatier Thorntons became yet another shop unable to cope with the coronavirus pandemic. The constant lockdowns reduced sales so significantly that by March 2021, it was announced that all the physical shops would be closing, with the business shifting to be entirely online. It's sad that you can't drop into Thorntons to buy last-minute Christmas gifts or an extremely lavish personalized Easter egg anymore, but you can still buy Thorntons' trademark delicious chocolates on the website. But the closure did still cause the loss of 600 jobs when its locations were shuttered. Number 8. Comet.
That's Comet sense.
It was once one of the UK's foremost locations for white goods and other electrical appliances. Everything from fridges to televisions to computers could be bought here, and it traded quite successfully for almost 90 years. That all changed when the business collapsed in 2012. It had already been struggling financially for decades by this point, being purchased multiple times in the 2000s, including once for the whopping price of £2.
Our prices aren't that low, but it's hard to find lower. That's Comet sense.
Those £2 apparently weren't well spent, because less than a year after the sale, the company was firmly in administration. It barely took a month for the stock to be liquidated, though Comet has since re-emerged as an online retailer in 2020. Number 7. Debenhams. This well-known department store had a branch in every city, which ultimately proved to be its undoing. Throughout the 2010s, it became clear that fewer and fewer people were going to department stores. They were huge, expensive, and most of the products could be found easier and cheaper online, not to mention the impact of the pandemic on retail stores. Though Debenhams tried to stay afloat by closing underperforming branches, it wasn't enough, and by the end of 2020, every Debenhams location had shuttered for good. Many of the former units still stand empty in town centres. Debenhams still exists online, however, with many of the same products you'd expect. Number 6. Phones for You. Their adverts were so memorable that you may think you've seen them a lot more recently than you have. In actuality, the company entered administration in 2014 when two of the UK's biggest telecom companies, Vodafone and EE, decided not to renew their contracts. It was sad, especially when the company had such creative commercials, but the business has since been replaced by handler-specific stores and car phone warehouses.
Phones for you, for less. Phones for you.
Whether you're Scottish, Welsh or English and you want to own a phone, is that your wish?
The CEO didn't take the closure line down, however, directly blaming mobile phone carriers for putting him out of business. But we still see that notorious ghost girl when we try to sleep every night. Did missing Phones for You's deals haunt EE?
Hello, the Samsung Toco icon is only $59.95 on pay-as-you-go.
Number 5. JJB Sports. Well-known brand JJB Sports went under in 2012 following years of poor trading and mounting debts. Debts so significant, they reduced the company's value from £500 million to a meager £1.2 million. The problem was that the company got much too big too quickly, with 2007's new CEO deciding to make non-stop acquisitions. These acquisitions turned out to be very poorly timed as, of course, only a year on, we were plunged into the Great Recession. In the end, Mike Ashley decided to buy up JJB Sports and bring it under the Sports Direct brand. Thankfully, this saved hundreds of jobs, though many more couldn't be rescued. Number 4, Game Station.
You fuckberry.
Once upon a time, there were two places you could go to buy games in the UK, Game and Game Station. There is of course CEX as well, but it's not quite the direct competitor to Game. Game Station on the other hand was, which is why Game decided to buy up its competition in 2007. It continued to trade under the Game Station name for a while, creating the illusion of choice among consumers. But 5 years on and the brand was dead, leaving Game the last man standing.
Then go to Game Station, you ninny, and pay less for top-notch games.
It's not clear why trade watchdogs didn't stop this, since Game has enjoyed almost no competition on the high streets ever since. But they didn't, and Game Station is no more. Number 3, Toys R Us.
There's a magical place, we're on our way there, with toys in the millions all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us.
Though this is an American retailer, Toys R Us had a very dramatic closure when it shut all of its UK locations in 2018. Long a go-to retailer for toys of all varieties, it seemed that eventually a toy shop of this size was unsustainable. With the rise of online shopping, parents could avoid the stressful in-person visits and the long queues. Thousands of jobs were lost when the chain couldn't find a buyer and ceased trading, while millions of pounds in the red. Everybody could tell the retailer had been on the rocks for years, but the North American branches were struggling as well, and the UK arm ended up sinking completely. There goes those childhood memories.
It's called Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us.
Number 2, BHS. British Home Stores was an extremely popular department store that ruled the British high street since 1928. But despite how beloved the brand was, it couldn't be saved from the poor management of the UK's most infamous business magnate, Philip Green. Green's been in the news plenty of times for running businesses into the ground, and BHS was perhaps his most high-profile failure. It was eventually bought from Green's Arcadia Group for £1, big spenders, but in 2016, it fell into administration. Nobody was bold enough to buy the chain and save it, and it crumbled. It was a very upsetting end for what was previously one of the UK's best shops. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here's some honourable mentions. Mothercare. By 2020, people had stopped wanting to spend a premium on baby clothes and toys. Borders. This huge bookshop chain gave its business to its competitors and went bankrupt. Blockbuster. Just like in the US, Blockbuster UK couldn't survive the rise of streaming. Thomas Cook. Over 500,000 tourists were left stranded abroad when Thomas Cook went under. Dixon's. The company rebranded in 2006 and all Dixon stores became Currys. Number 1, Woolworths.
We haven't got a toaster. Wooly, nip down to Woolworths and get a toaster from their new Worth It value range.
Many people in the UK will have fond childhood memories of visiting Woolworths to buy pick and mix and get their back-to-school things. But tragically, Woolies went out of business in 2008. The British public suffered a loss many have not yet recovered from, as Woolworths was one of the first casualties of the 2008 global financial crash. Its closure really hit people hard, though it did briefly return as an online retailer. It was also particularly difficult for the former staff, many of whom had worked in Woolworths for years before the bankruptcy. Woolworths' closure was so impactful that 12 years later, there was even a hoax claiming it was coming back. Ouch. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo UK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.